So today I'm going to show you guys how to play the English opening. So why actually play the English opening? Now there are many reasons why you would want to play the English. My favorite part about it is that it destroys about 99% of your opponent's opening preparation. Now people spend months and months studying what to do against King's Pawn and Queen's Pawn, but oftentimes just completely forget about the English. Now what this means is that after watching this video, you should get games where you're familiar with what you're doing and you have a game plan, whereas your opponent is in unfamiliar territory. And that means they'll likely be lost and don't really know what they're doing. And this should give you a nice healthy advantage. Now we can play the English in two ways. We can play it in a more classical style, with lots of theory, or we can play the English more sort of like a system. Which is really an entire opening you can pretty much use for anything, and you can learn it in 5 minutes. So this is the Botvinnik system. So pretty much the Botvinnik system is where we want to develop our pieces sort of like I'm showing you here. And we reach this position. This is called the Botvinnik system. This is how we play the English as a system. So let me just talk you through a couple of these moves. So, as you can see, we actually push e4, which is actually very uncommon. In the English, usually we want to play knight c3, c4, bishop g2. And the main idea in the English is that we want to control the square and sort of restrict white in the center. But, with e4, we ensure that black will never ever play this move. So we have like 4 attackers on the square. So pretty much the whole idea of this opening is to get a really strong group in the center. And it is a very solid opening. So yeah, we pretty much just want to go for something like this, where we don't need to know any theory, we know where the pieces go, and it is a very solid opening. So what I want you to do now is I actually want you to pause the video and just keep rewinding it a couple of times until you reach the moves flawlessly. Now this really shouldn't be that hard, this is only like 7 or 8 moves to memorize here. But yeah, go ahead, pause the video and go do that. Just try and memorize these moves here, because that really is the entire opening. I will show you guys a little bit more in the future, but for now this is just, yeah. Alright, great, so I'm assuming you did that. If you haven't, this is your last chance to go do that. So what are the ideas in this opening? So we want to play one of these 3 pawn breaks I've highlighted here. Obviously black will try and develop as well. But once we reach this position, we need a plan. We need to either play b4, d4, or f4. We need to try to open up the position somehow. And it really depends on what black plays. That will sort of dictate what one of these 3 moves will play. So I'm going to show you guys sort of like how black might set up against us. So arguably the most common response here is just to try play King's Indian defense. Now it's important, yeah, so black might sort of develop like this. And now it's important not to play d4 here. This would translate into like a mainline King's Indian defensive position. And this is exactly what black wants, and we don't want to, you know, sort of give black what he wants. We want to keep him unfamiliar. Now, if you were paying attention before, you would remember we have multiple pawn breaks. We have this, this, and this. Now, which one do you think we should play? Just pause the video. So usually in this position, white will actually try to push the the f pawn and try to create an attack. Now why? Okay. Well, we can play d4. It opens up this bishop, but I mean there's nothing wrong with it. But the reason why I prefer f4 in this position is that when black pushed the e pawn, he left these squares behind. Now you might not see this now, but what that means is that if we manage to get a pawn up to f5, this pawn right here, it's not back here, so it can't really challenge our pawn, and would have a great space advantage. Now let me show you what that might look like. Now in these positions we can actually push the pawn all the way up here, and this is very, very scary for black, because we're just going to come after him and absolutely just destroy him on the king side. So that's why we like usually play f4 here. Obviously if they take, we can even just take back like this, and it's completely fine. So usually this is the setup we want to play against the King's Indian. So this is sort of what we want to do when black plays sort of like a different setup without pushing e5. Now notice how we play the same moves every time here, with the knights, the pawns, and the bishop. But the only thing that's changing is the pawn breaks, right? So notice how in the last example we played f4, now we're playing b4. Now why? Well, now f4 isn't really too effective. Now why isn't it effective? Well, usually there's a pawn here on e5, but now it's on e6, which means, remember, our idea was to play f4, f5, and now it's not really too effective, because black has good control over the square. And yeah, we're not really getting an attack here. So we want to play b4 and try playing the queen side. So this is sort of how we want to do this. So b4 is the move here in positions like this. Maybe not this exact position, but you have to remember that whenever black sort of develops like this and doesn't commit to e5, we want to play on the queen side. That's important to know. So basically that's how you want to play the Botvinnik system. Same moves every time, but we slightly adjust our plans based on what white does. Now please just give this system a try. You have nothing to lose, and you have nothing to lose because you just need to learn 7 moves. I've already showed you the plans. Like, I want you to know that this opening works even at the Super Grandmaster and World Champion level. In fact, the World Champion actually used this a lot, Mikhail Botvinnik. In fact, this opening was actually named after him, so it's a great opening. Just please try it. But now I'm going to show you the more traditional English. I'll introduce you to this opening very quickly. So I'll just show you like a couple of setups you might want to go for. So here we go. So the English opening is really like we're playing a Sicilian with white. Now, as we know, in the Sicilian we want to control this square. So I'm just going to fast forward the moves really quick. So the main idea in the English is that we want to play on the queen side. We want to sort of complement this bishop and play on the queen side, because we have the greatest influence over the queen side. We have no advantage on the king side. None of our pieces are pointing towards the king side. Well, we do have a few, but our advantage lies on the queen side, so that's where we want to play. We want to play moves like rook b1, b4, and try gain space there. So, yeah. Now just going back a little bit. So what are we playing here? So, like I said in the English, we want to play moves like knight c3 and bishop g2 to control there and restrict black in the center. So that's exactly what we do. And I want to show you this very important trick. This is not playable, because if he does, we go here. We have 3 attackers, only 1 defender. It's impossible to defend the pawn. So castle, castle, just controlling the center. And like I said, we just go for this plan. It's a very simple opening to play. It would be difficult to master, but I mean, if you want to just give this opening a try, it shouldn't be too hard. Especially if you're only at the beginner level. If you know the plans there and black doesn't, then you should have quite a nice advantage. Your plan is very simple. You just want to start to build any sort of attack possible on the queen side. Black could also choose to go for another setup. He might play something like this. Now this is called the reverse Sicilian, because we are playing the Sicilian defense with white. So we shouldn't really have too many problems here. So we can reach a position like this. And now if black takes us, we can take back, and we get a very big pawn center, like this. Now you'd be surprised how common this is, at my level. So I think, I don't know, maybe this will be a very common opening at like 1500 and below level as well. But it's very important that you learn this variation. So we get the bishop out just like normal, and when black plays d5, remember the whole point of playing c4 is to snap that pawn off the board. So we take it, we play knight c3, remember we're controlling the square still, and now we just get a big center. And now we can play like moves like this, and yeah, and remember the plan. Pause the video right now actually, and try just tell yourself the plan. Like, what's the plan in this opening? It's to attack on the queen side, right? So you want to play moves like rook b1, I don't know, queen a4, I don't know, maybe try like get this knight into the game somehow. I don't know. Another thing that black can do is you can play sort of like a Scandinavian defense, sort of like this. But it's very important that when black plays something like this, we don't get scared, because it is supposed to be a bad response. So if black plays this, you just want to take, and you can just grab the center. There is nothing wrong with this. You can just grab the center. Now I would say that like these are probably like the most common responses that I get to the English when they play e5. Yeah. Now if they start to play the King's Indian against you, you can actually just transpose into a Botvinnik system. Now that's the great thing about this opening, is that you can sort of pick which one you want to play. Yeah, so I'd highly recommend you go try both of these openings out. Yeah, but regardless of what black plays, we want to aim for a setup like this. But it's very important that whatever black plays, we want to aim for a setup like this. And just remember where the pieces are, what our plan is, attack on the queen side, remember where the pieces are, this is how we want to play. Yeah, now, I mean, if you want, you can pause the video and try like remember where the, like test yourself where the pieces are supposed to go, and this should help you memorize it. Play the English. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.